Welcome everyone. Hannibal is at the games once again, and today we're going to speak about a team that found one of the most exciting teams in the Premier League. Actually, personally, for me, it's the most exciting team in Premier League in the last 3-4 years. I have really loved the kind of run that they've had. I really kind of love the business that they had and the way their squad building and playing has been. It's none other than Aston Villa. AVFC has been one of the most interesting comeback stories that you can think of. This team few years ago was struggling with relegation. This team had sold off one of its greatest talents, Jack Grealish, and the players that they brought to replace him were not actually doing really that well. And then Unai Emery decided that he's going to take it up a notch. He's going to take this shit to another level, and the rest is history. Particularly the kind of games I loved about Aston Villa, the 24-25 season, that was fabulous. That season really showed me that Aston Villa's got the promise, it's got the quality, and more importantly, they know how to do the business. Now, traditionally, Aston Villa has been one of those teams that do not have that much high of a wage structure. They do not have that much money to throw around in transfer markets. You got teams like Arsenal, Manchester City, Manchester United, Tottenham, Chelsea, who left and right know how to spend. Liverpool in the last transfer season really spent, I think, three quarters of $1 billion was spent by Liverpool in order to build their squad. I don't exactly remember how much the worth was in euro or GBP, but yeah, it was a lot of money, and that Aston Villa has been one of the teams that has never been able to compete with that sort of money in title race, because even a team like Newcastle, which has said that Aston Villa is something similar to a Newcastle, Newcastle does have a lot of oil money. Newcastle does have a lot of business. They can really bring in players anyone they want to, and they had done that in the past. Which is why Newcastle also is a very great success story. But what impresses me about Aston Villa and what sets Aston Villa apart from Newcastle is that Aston Villa had such a strict budget to spend that they had to be really clever and really creative with their transfer strategies. And that is why the way they have played and the way they have emerged on top is a much better success story. Aston Villa was always cursed to sell one of their most shining stars and the brightest talents that they had. One example was Jack Grealish. He was emerging as one of the best talents at Aston Villa, and they had to sell it to Manchester City, who essentially had huge amounts of funds and resources, and none of the players can say no to that, and they can't reject that, and Aston Villa definitely cannot compete with that. So this is somewhat of a pattern that continued along the other seasons as well. Now you can see in the first part of 24-25 season, when Villa actually played their first ever Champions League in a long time, after more than 40 years of staying out of Champions League, they had been qualified once again. They were led by another wonder kid named as John Duran. John Duran was a great wonder kid signing, called young 19-year-old back then Colombian striker. Actually, I think 20-year-old striker. He was running like crazy. He was giving those numbers. He had that striker instinct. He knew when to shoot and he knew how to shoot. It's not something like you find in Ollie Watkins. And Ollie Watkins is your team tactical striker. He plays in a set tactical structure. He loves to work the ball into the box. He likes to make those movements and then shoot the ball. John Duran was pure South American striker, on the other hand, because these people, the moment they get the ball, they try to shoot it, and they try to shoot it at the back of the net. If you particularly look at the Aston Villa versus Bayern Munich game, you will see John Duran had the ball just for a little further away from the halfway line, and he just sees Manuel Neuer is out of position. He does not try to run till the box and then shoot. He does not try to find another player. He does not take the ball to the end. The moment he sees Manuel Neuer is out of his position, he decides to shoot right away from that halfway line, and it results in a goal. So that is kind of a striker that has been missing in a lot of time in the world football. I mean, you get your strikers, but strikers like Ollie Watkins, Kai Havertz, Gabriel Jesus, all of them are your technical team strikers. They need set tactics. They love to play with team structures. You don't have pure instinctual strikers. Somebody like a John Duran has the instincts. A Harry Kane has the instincts of a striker. That was missing in a young new kid, and that is what John Duran brought. But unfortunately, Aston Villa had to sell him to Saudi for £75 million, and that was a big blow to Aston Villa. Now, normally, when you sell your striker, you sell somebody as important in this team. It really takes a hit on your numbers. It really takes a hit on your the points that you score, the results that you get. But Aston Villa, being one of the smartest teams in the business, they knew they were in Champions League and they signed Marcos Rashford and Marco Asensio. These two peoples have been proven Champions League players. They have played for their respective teams. Asensio was part of Real Madrid squad. Asensio was then playing for PSG. Marcus Rashford, need I say more? I mean, he was United's wonder kid who's done a lot for them, and that is how Aston Villa built its squad back. They played Marcus Rashford and Marco Asensio, and they brought on new signings like Ian Matson, Daniel Mallon, and they really bolstered their numbers. They brought in signings that were experienced, and at the same time, they still had a lot of potential to do damage. That's what Aston Villa did, and that is why they reached till quarterfinals of the Champions League. Unfortunately, they were knocked out against PSG because PSG was too much to handle for them. However, they were knocked out by only one goal on aggregate, which means that they really gave a tough fight. It was down to 5-4 aggregate scoreline. That means Aston Villa had scored 4 goals against PSG. That was something that nobody had done in that season. In the Champions League, at least nobody was able to score 4 goals on the PSG side. That was something Villa did. Even the next season, I really loved the squad building that Villa did. Got Amadou Onana, who was a great midfield striking. We saw some of the best games from Yuri Tillmans and Morgan Rogers. For a brief period, Ollie Watkins had lost his scoring shoes, but he got them back by the end of the season. Emi Buendia was moving like crazy. Matty Cash was moving like crazy. Pau Torres had been ever so reliable. Along with Ezri Konsa, they had a dynamic duo centre back partnership. I really loved it. We did sign players like Jadon Sancho on loan. Not really brings out a lot of experience, but he was a prodigy back in his United days. He was somebody who still has potential. The world knows it. So we're still moving on some crazy signings, and Aston Villa managed to win the Europa League finals. Unai Emery, for a brief period, gave them a 14 to 15 game unbeaten run, and that was crazy. That was absolutely crazy, especially knowing that when the numbers dictated Aston Villa was supposed to lose, Aston Villa was absolutely not able to. Actually, sorry, as Aston Villa was not supposed to score as many goals as they did. They were supposed to score less than half of the goals that they actually scored. However, defied all odds, defied all predictions. This Unai Emery's Aston Villa defied fate itself. They have qualified into Champions League once again, and they have showed the world what they're capable of. However, this season does bring out a lot of concerns for the team because this time I'm not too confident on the signings because a lot of the players again have left. Yuri Tillmans, one of the backbones of the midfield, has gone. Lucas Digne, who brings a lot of experience and who brings a lot of passion, is also gone. Ollie Watkins is on the verge of leaving for a Saudi offer. Emi Martinez, who had been a rock solid goalkeeper for Aston Villa in the league stages and in the knockout stages. Whatever you say, he was a legend for the club. He is a legend for the club, and he's also looking for an exit, I've heard, and that's really horrible. Even after Ezri Konsa has been transferred to Arsenal, he was the best defender for Villa. He's been transferred as well. Daniel Mallon has left Aston Villa. So there have been a lot of departures. Morgan Rogers really hit particularly hard because after Grealish, there were not a lot of expressive dribblers that you used to find, but Morgan Rogers was one of them. Even though he was, maybe I wouldn't say he was at the levels of Jack Grealish, he was young, he was promising, and who knows, if he would have been given more time, he might have he might have crossed that level as well. He was really doing crazy for the last 2 seasons, and he was gone to Chelsea for £117 million. Now, for the business side, this is really great because PSR really restricts Aston Villa's hands. It really puts a tight cap on the budget and the wallet of Aston Villa spending. However, when you let so many key players from your starting 11 leave, that creates a big concern because there's nobody left to fill their shoes, and even the person who comes to fill in their shoes, they're gonna have to over oversee a lot of challenges because this, even if you somehow fill the starting 11 with new players, they're gonna need to find that synergy. Gonna need to find that passion once again. They've never played with each other. It's gonna take time, and that time is gonna take a toll on the season. Now, looking at the first match against Brighton, getting booty spanked 4-0 in the first half itself and taking a red card, it seems like a long, long road ahead because, like I said, it's going to take time for the squad to gel up. It's going to take them time for them to learn new tactics, understand how each other plays, because entire starting 11 has gone. So it's going to take a while, but I trust Unai Emery. I have complete and utter faith in Unai Emery, and he's going to pull another rabbit out of his hat, and the world is going to love it. I think Aston Villa will reach a great number. It's going to reach the late stages of the Champions League, and it's also going to perform really well in the Premier League as well. It's just a matter of time. The moment this Villa squad clicks, it's going to be crazy because it's not all bad. There's silver linings. The young 17-year-old striker that Villa has brought in, Matt Joe, he was crazy. It was literally a breath of fresh air because you do not find strikers like that anymore. The last time I mentioned John Duran, the way he plays is the way Matt Joe plays. Expressive, creative, and instincts. You gotta need a striker who has instincts of a striker. You do not need a striker who's a team player. Like, the team will build up the ball, he'll come and then he'll try to just pass it into the goal. No, you need a striker with an instinct, a striker whose only intention is to shoot the ball when he gets it, and he should obviously know how to shoot the ball. That is something that's been really promising from Matt Joe. Apart from that, Leon Goretzka has signed for Aston Villa. That is really new and exciting. Aaron Wan-Bissaka has signed for Aston Villa once again. He was a great player some time ago. A lot of clubs made a mistake of letting him go. Let's hope Aston Villa gives him his potential, gives him his ceiling back again. I trust Unai Emery completely, 100%. He's going to bring out the best versions of the squad as well. It's just a matter of time. Now, the only question left is, will this time destroy Villa's chances in the Premier League and the Champions League, or Villa will find solution before permanent damage is done? They still have some experienced players like John McGinn, Matty Cash, Amadou Onana, who are there, who are going to dictate how this team structure will be, how the new players will gel up with each other. So there's some experience, there's some passion, there's some old guard left in the team. Not all is lost. There's some signs of cracks, but I have faith Unai Emery will repair them and renew them. See you on the next one.